Just before we go ahead into today's episode, I wanted to speak about Finney's Careers and Empowerment, who have kindly sponsored today's specific episode. So, Finney's Careers and Empowerment is dedicated to helping individuals build confidence, develop essential career skills, and navigate their next steps in education or the workplace. Through innovative programs and resources, Finney's empowers people to take control of their futures. You can learn more at www.finney's.co.uk. Thanks so much again to Finney's Careers and Empowerment for sponsoring today's episode. This is a trigger warning for the following episode since we speak about mental health, so we will be speaking about some sensitive topics. This is also a disclaimer that we use some dark humour and bad words as well, so if this is not the podcast for you, you can scroll on, but if this sounds good to you, come in. I don't do no introduction. I don't do no actual introductions. I like the guests to do their own introduction. So if you can let us know who you are, Christina Doherty.
Chrisina Doherty, yeah.
And then everything that you say now, we can go more in depth throughout the conversation then.
Chrisina Doherty, I'm from Craigan, mommy of 4.
And you have an amazing life story and journey.
Yeah.
That you have been through. And you're so young as well. You're 34 then?
35.
Oh, you're 35?
35, aye.
And when I was doing my structured research on you yesterday, it was like reading the life of 10 people.
I know.
Never mind one.
Whenever people do say it to me, sometimes when I'm talking about it, I'll be like, God, this just didn't even seem like my life.
Aye, it's crazy.
Because I've told the story that many times.
And
some things seem that they would never happen to anybody in a lifetime. Never mind all of them in one life.
Aye. So that's
a short space of time.
So that's why I have been so excited to speak to you, because I genuinely think you are an inspiration, and I don't even know you. Remember, I was saying I was so proud of you, and I didn't even know you.
I know.
Because of reading bits and pieces about your story, which we are going to get into now, which isn't just a story. This is your life.
It's my life.
This is your life.
Aye. It is a real life.
Aye. So let's go back to your younger years then, let's talk about school, friendships, relationships. How was that period of time for you? Like, say your younger years, teenage years.
Do you know, it was fine. Do you know, looking back now, I always wanted to be noticed. No, always wanted to, like, it was like a big girl act, if you know what I mean. No, like, always wanting to be runway, the ones that had like a bad name, whether the class clowns or always wanted to be in that group.
Right, okay.
Always just wanting to be noticed. I was the oldest in my house, so I don't know if I took on some, I don't know, I just know always wanted to be noticed. I just always wanted people to know I was there.
Aye.
Or was or the loudest. Or
so how did that affect you at school then?
Well, do you know what? In primary school it didn't really. As soon as I went to St Cecilia's, it was just constant. I was don't put my head down, not doing any work, not focusing, not really knowing. I always remember Mommy saying, "You will regret this." A lot of people say, and do you know what? I said the other day, and I do regret it. I do regret not staying on at school. I have a teenager who I'm like, please stay on at school. And what she is, because I regret it so much.
Aye.
There's a lot of regrets about school.
Aye. So when you were 17 then, you gave birth to your first wee boy. What was his name?
Stephen.
Right, wee Stephen. Yeah. So this would have been your first major life event as well, what we say?
Aye.
So he was only 6 weeks old.
He was only 6 weeks old. The 2 days after his christening. And it was at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was a really bad weather at the time, so we couldn't get across the bridge. We lived in the waterside, so we stayed in my partner at the time, his mother's house, and I fell asleep in a chair. Woke him up to feed him. He was in my arms, fell asleep, and that I woke up and he passed away.
In your arms? Oh my God, Christina. So you were only 17 as well at the time? Like, how do you even process that at such a young age? And at any age is horrific, but I mean, 17. What do you do?
Do you know what? You don't. You just, that's when, so looking back now, that's when I know my life completely just went down it.
Aye. Do you want a wee tissue? Let me grab it. Can you pass me over that wee box? Sorry.
Do you think it'll help? Not noticing at the time, not thinking that it wasn't affecting me. Now looking back, and it's like,
As it would. Is something like that would affect anyone.
definitely, yeah.
So you had to cope with this massive loss, huge loss, detrimental. Do you think that then that was the kickstart of your substance
That was
misuse?
definitely definitely not straight away, but life choices after that. Like that was all part of my addiction. Just wanting to be. I went sort out really fast and had my second baby.
Right.
My mommy always had him at the weekend. I had her at the weekends. And I just wanted to party all weekend. Like there was no priority for a baby. Like there was just no priority.
No.
It was about me, and as long as my mommy had him. But I think my mommy took him because out of fear of who he was going to be left with.
That makes sense too. Yeah.
You know. Aye.
And again, because you are so young, those are your party years, as you would say. Like you want to be, all your friends are partying, and like you're like, I don't want to be left with this.
I just wanted to
and you just want to run with them, which makes sense. Doesn't make you a bad person either. But now looking back, you're like, at this age, you would never dream of doing that
ever.
So the you know the change in you now compared to then. So when did your main story is that you're a recovering addict? What was the substance then? Was
it was tramadol.
Oh right, okay. Is that was the very first?
That's what I actually got hooked on. It was sort of drink, and then I was taking whatever I could get my hands on, whatever was at that party, whatever was on a night out detox. It didn't matter what it was.
Right, okay.
And I just took it.
Would that have been every day or just at the weekends?
No, this was just the weekends. And I think that led on the taking. So whatever I took at the weekend, drinking, I was taking cocaine. I like to say this. I don't know.
Of course,
you're story. Coke. I was taking meth. I was just literally taking anything, staying up all night. And then I was maybe taking cocodamol just to bring me around because I was so sick or.
So it was a vicious cycle then.
It was just never ending. It was never ending.
So you were, and amongst this, still trying to be a mommy?
Still trying to be a mommy.
Aye.
And I remember I just moved into a house in Hazelbank, and I done nothing in that house because I just didn't care. My money went partying, and there was, as I say, there was no priority, none.
It was just you.
It was just me, and you know. But while I was in that house, I went into a very serious relationship. But I did settle down, but I was still drinking at the weekend and taking substances. Again, there was just no there was no priorities. My mommy still was taking me. By then I had my third child.
So you had 3?
So no, I had wee Stephen had passed away, but then I had two with me.
Right, okay.
And they were wee steps and stairs.
Right, okay.
And thinking back now to how young, what they went through.
But I'm sure it was, what age are they now actually before I asked that?
14 and 16.
But sure, look at the strong, amazing role model that they have now. You know, they couldn't have a better role model than you now. So it just shows that it's never too late. They change.
No, never.
when you were pregnant with them then, and you were saying that, and amongst all this, you were partying. When you were pregnant then, was that when you were able to stop? Or was this something that was ongoing?
No. So I'd never took anything pregnant with Emmons. I think I did drink, not excessively. I think I might have did have a drink. I'm not 100% sure. But my addiction was not, I didn't have an addiction when I was pregnant with the first two.
Right, okay.
And then I went on to have, I was on I'd met a fella, and do you know what, it was really, really serious, and I did settle down. But still out at the weekend, still taking stuff, still not taking anything through the week, just taking it the weekends, and then thinking it's alright, I'm here through the week. And then I got pregnant with my Anna. She's 11, and I really did settle down when I was pregnant with her. I started to pick myself back up. I started to really look at myself, and this needs to stop now. But when Anna was born, she was really sick. We didn't know what was wrong with her, so we spent months in the Royal.
Right.
Because she was so sick. So my other two was missing them, and me and her daddy was up in the Royal where just trying to be a parent from a hospital. When we got Anna home, she needed to be tube fed, and she was on a heart monitor and all that. So her daddy and me done some training to be able to take her home to do that. So it was like we were ready to explode, the two of us. We were just living in each other's pockets. We had this sick baby. We were, spent months in the hospital. It was going to happen, and I exploded, and I started to use tramadol to keep me through the day.
Okay.
And that just spiraled, and it got so bad.
You mentioned to me that you spent a bit of time at Foyle Women's Aid. Was this around that period?
No.
When was it that you spent time with?
My last wee baby there.
Oh, so this was recent enough then?
This was 3 years ago.
Right, okay.
4 years ago.
Was this when you were clean and sober? Did you go there, or is this?
I went there and just got clean and sober.
Right, so that was kind of the start of your recovery then, because I thought that was in the middle, on the amongst of you having your last wee girl, and then the relationship and how all that came to.
No, with my wee girl at 11, there's her, and then there's Jacob after her. I handed my 3 children that I had in my care when Anna was 3, and the other 2 to my family, and told them that I just couldn't cope anymore.
So we also spoke about social services, which is a word that sometimes would send a shiver down my spine, because anybody who has been in contact with them or but a lot of people don't realise, Christina, they actually do want to help.
Oh, definitely.
They do not want your children.
They do not want your children.
Which I thought that's what they wanted. I was like, you aren't getting them. Like, we don't want them. We're doing everything for you to keep them.
When I had phoned them for myself, because my tramadol addiction was so bad, and it was nasty. When I had phoned them, I remember the girl saying to me on the phone, well, I said, I am addicted to tablets, and I can't bring these children up in this home anymore. There's domestic violence, there is just everything. And I remember saying, have you got family support? And I said, I do. And she was like, well, are you going to get help? And I said, this is what I'm hoping to do. And she told me if I needed anything else, I could ring back. So I am telling her that I am really addicted to tablets. My children are suffering with domestic violence. There's no priority in the home. There's no nothing. They were coming last. They were looked after. They were fed, but that's not what a child needs. They were they were seeing just so much.
But you were still worried enough for their welfare.
I was still worried enough for their welfare. Oh, definitely. The guilt, even to the day, I still love the guilt. Not as much as I do. But I remember saying to that care, you know, I can't get these tablets that I'm addicted to right now, but I will get them tomorrow, and I'll just go back to. And that's when they came out then, and I handed my children over.
So how many tramadol were you taking a day at that stage?
Between 10 and 20.
A day? Oh my God, Christina. And what way?
I built up a tolerance.
What were they doing for you?
What was the reason? Do you know what? I was so angry to on them, but I was able to get up early in the morning. I was able to get the ways out to school. I was able to clean my whole house in an hour. I had just so much energy. But no, it was. I'm not thinking that nobody knew. They all knew.
No,
everybody knew.
Because I was on tramadol for a while as well for pain, but I was just taking them for the pain. If I had it up more than 2 a day, I'd have been vomiting and really, really ill.
I built up a tolerance. I was, and then I wasn't, and I was just building up.
So, social services come out the next day.
Social services came out to my mum's house, and I had just sort of told them everything and placed my children with Anna. She was 3 at the time, with my partner at the time's mommy, and my other 2 with my aunt.
Because you said that your children kind of came as the last priority. You and your addiction came first, kind of. Yeah. But this shows that they were actually a priority because you were wanting them to get the help.
Oh, definitely.
You know, and for a mother to even admit that herself, they physically ring social services and say, I need help, whereas the rest of us are shutting the door and being all beat it. We don't need help.
I know.
You're actually asking for the help. So to be a woman in that position just shows how strong, but weak also at the same time. It's such a hard position to be in.
When I done it, I was broke. I was like, I can't do this no more. It was looking at my wee young one now, Jacob. He is the same age as them 2 was, or Anna was, when I had done all this. Looking at his face now, to think that anybody could put him through that.
So he's the main reason for change as well for you.
Yeah.
So when you hand your children over to social services, what does that do for you, for your life? Do you look at that as like a free rein that you can do whatever you want it now, or did you look at that as I'm going to work hard now and get them back? What way did it look for you?
No. I left my mother's house and I went and like a couple of streets down and bought a tablet.
Straight after they had left? So that was like a free rein for you then to do what that you had wanted? Oh my God. And then what way did seeing your children, what way did that look like then? Did you get to see them?
So at the start I had them 3 days a week for like 2 hours, but I was so nasty. I was such a nasty person. My auntie used to get verbal abuse off me. My mother-in-law at the time used to get verbal abuse off me. I could do what I want, I'll do what I want, and you know, that's where the lies and all started, and I was just so nasty. So then social services a couple of weeks later, I had to step out and be like, no, you know, you need to be supervised.
So what does supervised visits look like?
So I had a social worker supervising me in like a room.
When you were just talking to your children, just playing with them, or what does it look like, a playroom or something, is that?
It's a tiny wee room. It's maybe this size here. It's a tiny wee room. Now, that was for about a week or 2, and then it went out to the community, but I had somebody following me. I took them to McDonald's, but again, still going to that contact with tablets on me.
So how did that make you feel? Did that make you think, oh my God, this is so unnormal? Or were you in the throes of addiction?
I was just numb. I was just numb. And I started to take more of, I started to dabble in everything then.
Which is the more painkillers, is
it? Just different. Anything I could keep my hands on.
So where were you getting them? Were you
I was buying off people.
So I was going to say, were you being prescribed them? But
no.
So painkillers are so accessible.
Oh God,
I never knew how accessible they were until I started my own research on the, not just you, but I mean the whole podcast and general, the amount of people who can go and message someone right now and get them is mental.
So much about my teenagers. because of how accessible they are.
How accessible everything is. Alcohol,
Everything, I know.
THC and the vapes and everything now in the schools. It's horrific, isn't it?
It's horrible.
So you were in the throes of your addiction then. At what point did you turn around and think, right, enough's enough? Did you ever try and come off anything?
I did. And I was, do you know what I was talking about this last night? I used to maybe take a handful, throw the rest in the toilet, be like, that's it, by the way, I'm never again. And I done that so many times. The sound of Good Morning Britain gives me so much anxiety that I can't. That I remember being up and sitting and listening to that, and just thinking, what has my life came to?
Aye, that makes perfect. See, people listening that haven't walked your path, they will never ever understand a trigger like that. That one simple sound, but I know what you're on about.
I heard it the other day for the first day, and it was like, that has really triggered me
and brought you right back to where you were at that point. So around this time as well, you were in a relationship. I know this is so sensitive, so
yeah.
Anything that you don't want to answer,
no,
don't answer. And remember, I said we could cut and edit.
I didn't think I would get upset because I don't normally do it, so you're just talking in detail about it.
Aye. But it's mad because me and you have been kind of talking wee bits, voice noting back and forth, but I don't like talking to people too much because I don't like knowing too much about them.
No. Yeah.
But obviously when you're voice noting someone, it's different. But when you're actually with them and you can feel the energy and the connection, your emotions are going to come up as well. And then when someone who's not been in the same position as you, but someone who has been as low as you,
yes,
you can nearly have that connection as well if you know what I'm feeling, kind of thing.
Oh God,
So in this relationship you said was on the rocks, and you knew like a big end was coming or something was coming.
Definitely.
What did you mean then in terms of that?
We were just always fighting. It was just bad. Somebody from me, so we're looking into that now. That relationship is. I'm very surprised one of us weren't seriously hurt at that time.
Was he taking tramadol and all as well?
No, he has addiction. Started about a year or two after mine.
Right, okay.
His was diazepam.
Right.
And weed.
Right.
So
both of you,
both of us, we were just
a recipe for disaster then.
Bad.
And
at the start, it was the most perfect relationship. Looking back, looking back to how the relationship even started, but to begin with, it was, and then having all this in the mix, it was going to happen. It was definitely going to happen.
A recipe for disaster then.
So bad. But he was the best in the world.
Aye.
And then, but I mean, I was the same. I'm the best in the world, and then you put drugs into the mix.
Aye.
They were so nasty. It's like day and night.
Aye. So did that relationship come to an end then? Before
that relationship came to an end, yeah. I cheated on him.
Right.
And fell pregnant.
Right, okay.
By somebody else.
So you had to have this conversation then with him as well?
I actually still don't remember that conversation today.
Right. Were you still actively using as well? So that's probably why your memory is kind of all over the place as well. Is this around the time that you went to Foyle Women's Aid?
Yes.
Then? Right, okay. Sorry, so I was trying to structure it out around your timeline. So you'd fallen pregnant to someone else. You've had the conversation to that was your partner. How did you end up then in Foyle Women's Aid? Because you were housed there with them, weren't you?
Yes. So it was. I was living in Ballymac, and I just didn't fit on that street. I'm from Craig,
Mm.
but I just didn't feel like I fit on that street.
I'm from Ballymac. What's wrong with Ballymac?
There's nothing. I didn't know it was me.
Why? So stop blaming the Ballymac people.
Who the hell forgot that? But no, I just didn't fit. I just didn't feel like I fitted into the street. But
Right.
I also knew I was pregnant. I'd found out on Halloween Day I was pregnant. And again, a plan in my head under the influence, but my plan worked. I thought I need to get out of this house and I need to one day for Women's Aid and I need to sort myself out. I cannot put a wee innocent baby through this addiction. Like, I just couldn't do it. So that's how I ended up in Foyle Women's Aid. I had just told them that I was done when I live in that house no more. I was actually terrified to live in the house. Everybody knew what I was doing at the time. I was partying. There was people in my house that shouldn't have been in my house.
Right.
And you can't do that in a street in Ballymac. You just can't.
No.
And get away with it. So that's why I went on there. Yeah.
So what way did that work then, Christina? Do you ring them or do you go to
I rung
them?
I rung them a wee bit. I don't remember it all, but I remember ringing them and telling them that I've literally packed up my stuff. I'm with my friends at the minute and I've nowhere to go.
Right.
And I'm pregnant. And the social worker I had at the time thankfully helped me.
Aye.
She had enough of me too, and that woman took so much crap off me. But she helped me.
But I suppose when people like social workers and Foyle Women's Aid are working with with addicts and stuff, they can kind of see that this is not that person, this is their addiction, and this person needs help. So they obviously seen that you were, and obviously, and you were an addict, but they obviously seen a wee bit of something in you they wanted to help with.
Do you know what? I think for the social worker at the time, I remember going on, sorry, I'm taking it back now. When I had found out I was pregnant, it was a couple of weeks into November, and I remember getting into a wee room in Riverview, the social worker's office, and saying, I'm pregnant and I will be giving the baby up for adoption.
Right, okay.
And the manager had told me to go away and think about it. And I said my mind was made up. And I go away and I come back like a week or two later and I had said no. That was my mind was made up and that's the plan I wanted to go down.
Right.
Looking back now, I knew what I was doing. I didn't want a child to go. I knew none of my family was prepared to take another child, especially what they went through with me.
Yeah.
They might have been through hell and back with me, and using them weans is deep,
So again, as a mother, another tough, really tough decision to go on and admit.
And I was so serious at that time about that decision. I was so serious.
So that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Didn't get to that stage. No. So in Foyle Women's Aid then?
In Foyle Women's Aid, I went to Woodley House out in Grincha.
Aye. That's like a detox centre, is it?
No, it's so it's for drug addicts, alcoholics. They go out and you get help with support out there.
Right. And do you say it's an inpatient or is it an appointment?
I went to an appointment.
Right.
And there is a tablet called Subutex that you can go on if you're addicted to opiates.
Okay.
There's a while people think that it's for people that's on heroin, and it's not.
Right. Okay.
It's for opiates because I was pregnant. I was priority, so I was put on that medication.
Right.
Straight away, and that's when my journey completely started.
So you feel Foyle Women's Aid really benefited you then?
100%.
Massively.
So I had them eyes on me, watching me, knowing that I was all right.
Yeah.
I was out there. I'd started that medication on the 1st of December. I had heard a girl, she's my age, her story. She was a recovering addict, and I she had mentioned a place called Ash out Noma.
Right.
So I had asked about it, and they had said the waiting list was so long. And I remember going to the chapel all the time, lighting candles and praying, and thinking just get me in because they're going to take my baby off me if I don't sort myself out. But there wasn't a place till August, and I was due in July.
Right.
I wouldn't answer private numbers, so I was too anxious to answer. And the private number rang me, and I didn't answer, just looked at the phone. And it rang me again, and I just answered, and a place had became available in the March.
So you were, how many months would that have been pregnant?
I was 4 months.
So how long were you on the Subutex then when Asha rang you with the place?
I was on the Subutex about 8 weeks.
And do you think the Subutex helped?
Massively.
So was this implicit the 10 and 20 tramadol that you were taking?
Yeah.
And Subutex, is that what does that look like?
So
is
it's
it
a medication.
Right.
It's just like a wee white tablet.
Right.
I started on a very high dose.
Right.
You go on and you be supervised in a pharmacy.
Right.
Like a wee room. And you have to put it under your tongue. It dissolves under your tongue, and then
you're free to go then.
That's it. Yeah.
So did that give you the?
It doesn't leave you like
buzzing?
No.
No, it doesn't give you that. It
literally keeps the withdrawals at bay.
Right. Okay. Aye, that makes sense.
Mentally.
Aye.
I just thought, God, I need to get into this place because I'm not going to do it, and I got in there.
So you get into Asha House. Is it Asha House?
Asha, no, just Asha.
Just Asha, sorry.
It's a detox centre, no map.
And how long were you in there for?
I was in there for 4 weeks.
What did a typical day? Would you say in there as a detox centre? Is that what that is?
Detox centre,
right. Okay. So it's that
through the NHS.
Is that the closest detox centre here?
That's the closest to here, yeah.
Right. Okay. Because everyone's crying out for one here, so the nearest to here is Oma.
And I remember them saying to me on the phone, you need to travel.
You
need to, your family can only, I think it was a Tuesday. It is very hard going. You don't stop. And that morning before I went up, I was smoking weed.
Right.
And I got into a taxi, and I was just, please let me do this. But I went down there with intentions of trying to not play social services, but just give me a chance. I didn't go on with a mind frame of this is happening. I'm never going to use drugs again.
Right. Okay.
Because I genuinely didn't think I was ready to stop.
Right.
I knew I wanted it. I just didn't think I was ready. Not mentally. Still, the mental torture in your head as an addict is.
I would say
horrible.
I couldn't even imagine it. So you were essentially keeping them sweet, as we would say. Aye.
That's exactly what I was doing. I also had my long-term partner outside that, yes, I was pregnant by somebody else, but I was still in contact with him because he was just so low as well, and I just didn't feel like I could leave him.
So were you in a relationship still, or had you ended? What way did that look like for you?
We had ended, but we were still in contact.
Right. Okay. Even when you were on Asha as well.
I made the decision I should stop contacting him.
Right. Because you had to focus on your own recovery as well. It's hard to take on someone else's pain and struggle, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
When you're trying to recover yourself. What did an average day in Asha look like then?
So it was like you get up, you get your breakfast. You had to be up for like 8 o'clock. You get your medication between 8 and 9 after your breakfast, and it was straight into group work. There's a man in there, and he was one of the counsellors on there, but he's doing it. He's very well known. I can't remember his name, but I know he worked in prisons and stuff, and he was just, I thought, I dreaded seeing him every day. I thought, no, you're horrible. The things that he used to say, now looking back, I know what he was doing.
What would he have said back then that would have thought made you think it was horrible?
He used to say things like, "She don't care what you age. If you care what you age, you wouldn't be here." You know, like that stuff, that kind of, and he was right.
It seems a bit ruthless though, still.
It was ruthless. It was, looking back, he's actually the nicest person I've ever met. But he needed you. I think he needed to break you. To just really look at yourself.
So it was counselling.
It was counselling. It was group work. It was like therapy. There was some like really sick people in there. Like really, really sick people. Maybe I'm one of them. But you know, like I'm looking at other people and it's just like, my God, and they're probably looking at me saying the same. Really, really sick people. You're not, when you're in somewhere like that, when you come out after 4 weeks, there's like only a 5% chance that you will stay sober.
Really? And did they tell you that in there as well?
They told me that in there. When you're out 3 months, it goes up to 40%, I think.
Right, okay.
As the longer you stay, the higher. And to this day, I'm the only one that stayed sober in there.
Amazing. You mentioned a massive energy shift in there. It's nearly like a wake up moment that you had in Asha. Can you describe what that was and what it felt like for you?
There was a girl in there, she wasn't a patient. And we were having her dinner. And I had said something about my faith, you know, I constantly pray. And the next day she brought a Patrick Peel relic. It's like a piece of tissue. It was in like a frame. And she's really not supposed to because of different religions and stuff, whatever it is.
Right, okay.
And she told me I said, "Can I take it?" And she said, "You can take it for 10 minutes during your room, or shift was ending or whatever." And I pray.
You're right. Take your time.
I just remember praying.
It's really triggering you right now. Is it bringing you right back to that? Do you want to stop or are you okay?
No, I'm okay.
Are you right?
I just remember praying, like, just help me, like, I can't do this no more. And I woke up the next day and I wasn't the same person that went to sleep. I just was not the same person. My whole mind was different. My whole, like, listening to somebody say that, I would think you're off your head. I was not the same person from the day before.
No, I completely.
And like thinking back the many times I went into the chapel, that candles was playing and praying, just please help me. I thought, like, there's nobody listening to me.
And then at that moment, then you had this complete.
I don't know what happened to me, but
complete change.
Complete different person.
So that next morning, then you wake up. Are you thinking about your kids again? Are you thinking about, right, this is it, I am going to do it and I want to do it? It's not about keeping anyone sweet now, it's about...
The day before, I remember really crying in the group and being like, this is so hard, I can't do this. And I did speak to my partner's mother. She had my youngest child on her.
Right, okay.
I was so nasty to her, and she had left. She had phoned. We weren't allowed phones or nothing in there. She had phoned to say, "We're thinking about you. We're so proud of you." And I remember the woman with a wee yellow stick-it note handed to me, and on it was, Ruth had phoned. And sorry, I shouldn't have said that name.
No, you're grand. If this person doesn't mind their name.
No.
That's okay.
And I remember like reading that thinking, this is it now, no, you just need to do it.
Mm.
And then that's when the next day I just woke up and I just was not the same person that went to sleep.
So how many weeks then were you had
4.
left
Sorry.
after you woke up the next day and you were like, right, this is it, my life's going to change and I'm going to make a change? How long then until you left? So it was halfway then? Halfway. So the last 2 weeks then, were they better for you?
They were
mentally?
better for me, yeah, but I was also finding out the decision if they were going to let me keep a wee baby.
Mm.
So I had like a Zoom call
Mhm.
with social services, and I think it was a couple of days. I think I might have had a couple of days left or a week left to do in there, and they had told me that they were going to give me a chance.
Oh, right, really? I didn't know what you were going to say there. I thought they were going to say, no, we're going to...
No.
So everything's starting to look good for you.
Yeah.
Everything's going the right way. You do really want to have this different life.
Mm-hmm.
But you come out of Asha a few weeks, was it? And you had your biggest test.
Yes.
So I know this is such a sensitive topic. I know it's been so emotional as well, but this is your life. This is not just your life. This is so many other people's lives as well that no one even would know.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes when people talk about addiction and addict, they think, oh, well, they must want to be like that because they're doing it and they don't care, but they don't see.
No, they don't
which
see
is
that.
why it's so important to have people like you, because it's all good and grand us going on podcasts and listening to the Americans saying,
I know.
take this herbal supplement and you'll be... No, we need people that love down the street from us, that have been there. Aye. And then you go, right, such and such from up the street, I never knew this. If she can do it, then I can do it. If someone...
And that's what brought me to Asha, because I seen somebody else had done it.
Aye. So there you go. And then hopefully now someone's seeing this.
If it helps one person.
If it helps one, I think it will help so many.
Yeah.
The amount of people that message me, Christina, was similar to you, but they're actually in the throes of it and they're needing the help, and it's so sad. It is so sad.
So sad.
So you left Asha then?
I left Asha, and I just sort of carried on with my life. I was on full woman's aid, loving. I started to speak to my family again. Started to speak to my mummy. I didn't speak to my mummy for 3 years.
Right.
And me and my mother is like best friends. So not speaking to her was like another big thing, but I started to speak to her. And my ex-partner was still in the midst of addiction. He'd said he didn't want the help. He didn't want to do it.
Right.
And that it was a Friday. I had 9 weeks to go before I had my wee baby. It was a Friday, and he had texted and was ringing, and just like it was him. He would have texted you, rung you. But there was just something different about that day. There was just something different about his texts, about his. I know we went and met his mother at the Diamond, and he doesn't hug anybody. He's not, but he gave her a hug and said he loved her.
Right.
And that night, it was like early hours in the morning. I was just woke out of my sleep, and there was like texts from him. Would you please come down and see me? But and I just kept telling him, no, I can't. And he did. He begged and begged and begged. And I said, no, I can't. But he never opened that message. No, I'm sorry. I had said to him, you are going to die if you don't stop. And he said, whatever way he read that message, he said, oh, do you want me to die? And I said, that's not what I'm saying. This is the life that you're choosing. And I remember him saying, oh, you think you are somebody because it's not easy for me. And I know it wasn't easy. I know it was not easy because he didn't want to be that person. And I texted him back and said, would you not ever think about going to Dash, blah, blah, blah. And he had never opened that message.
Right.
So But it was like him anyway. He would have went 24 hours with contact you, just whatever he was doing. But that day was just a very strange day. It was just I just knew something. I knew there was just something not right. And we had contacted his friends and whatever. I contacted his mommy, and me and his mommy then agreed that we would go to the police station on the Sunday because they'll not put somebody as a missing person for 24 hours.
So did you go to his house then and he wasn't there? Is that why you had to go to the police station, or what way?
Yes, no, we had contacted, so it was like a B&B.
Oh, that he was staying at the time, right?
So it was a room.
Right.
And the room door was locked.
Okay.
So we just assumed he wasn't done, he was out.
Right.
There was people then messaging me on Facebook that I'd never heard of before, looking for him. And I thought, no, there's something wrong. But the police wouldn't take the phone call until they're missing 24 hours.
Right, okay.
And me and his mother agreed to go to the police station at 3 o'clock the next day to report him missing. Well, I can't actually remember why we didn't go, but we phoned over it. We phoned them.
Right.
And the policewoman said they were going to get somebody out to that address where he was staying. And they did. They said the door was locked. I remember ringing. The policewoman rang me on her mobile. I don't know what she rang me for. They say they were there, and somebody was going to. Did I have the number of the person that owned the B&B so they could unlock the door?
Right.
Which her dad had given it to them. And I had rung her back 5 minutes later, and she just said, "Are you with somebody?"
Oh my gosh. Christina. So he was in his room in the B&B then?
He passed away like the Friday night, earlier Saturday morning.
Which would have been the night before, is that right? And you're saying that it was an accidental overdose then?
Yeah.
So he never got to read your message?
Never got to read it.
Never did. So how do you cope with that then? Because that is the biggest test for anyone. Never mind someone who is just so early and they're into their recovery.
Do you know what? This day I still don't know how. I still don't know. I really don't know. I just don't. I don't know. We knew that he'd have money be here in this world. We didn't know that he'd have money be here, and I think that was the thing that kept me going.
Aye, because it was his choice. But it still doesn't take away the guilt that you feel as well at the same time.
Yeah.
From him messaging you, please come and see me. Maybe you think if I had went and seen him, maybe things could have been different. But again, you had you to look after at the same time. Do you still hold a lot of guilt over that? Or is it something that you've been able to come to terms with a wee bit?
No, I don't hold guilt no more.
No.
I had to let it all go because it was dragging me down. And I just really believe that everything's meant to happen for a reason.
Aye. Actually, but no matter how horrific the circumstances, I agree with you. I agree the same.
Even his mother, she sleeps now at night. She never did before. Nobody slept with him. Nobody.
For worry from? Aye.
Because he was such a nice person. He was such a generous person, and he was easy to get out of. And he was just in with the wrong crowd.
Aye, and he was also an addict. Aye. So really vulnerable.
Very vulnerable.
Around that time then, did you ever go to any like talking therapies or counselling or anything? Like you just done this all on your own then?
I had to just get on with it. I knew what I wanted. I could see what I wanted in front of me. I just knew that I had to get there.
So how does getting your children back look like? Like, what is the process? You've left Asha.
Mhm.
You've
I'm still on for Women's Aid.
Oh, you still are, right? Okay.
I'm still on for Women's Aid.
Right.
I had Jacob on the 9th of July. And I got to come home, but I had people supervising me every other hour of the day.
Aye.
Or not supervising me, sorry, shaking me.
Checking in. Aye.
Still have friends, family.
Aye.
I had a bit like a support network set up, a WhatsApp group.
Right.
It was so intense. How, looking back now, even thinking, how did I even? I was such a I was so thin. I was a shell of myself. If a private number had rung me, if Jacob wasn't well, I was just constantly, he's going to get took off me, he's going to get took off me, just constantly living in fear. Everything was triggering you.
So you did have Jacob, which is your wee boy's 4 now, but you still didn't have your older children. At what stage are you allowed to start having them? Do they come back longer with you? Does the sessions last longer with them, or?
It went from supervised to unsupervised.
Okay.
When they weren't allowed on my flat in Women's Aid. I
Mm.
was allowed out in the community with them, and I had a social worker at the time. And still to this day, that woman was a big part of my journey.
Brilliant. Aye. Do you know what, Christina? That's really lovely to hear too, because we do hear a lot of negative about social services. Like, I even say it when I hear the name, sometimes I tense up. But they've been really helpful for you.
Oh God, aye.
Some
of them not so. Some of them told lies and didn't need to tell lies, but I was a bad one. I was the addict, you can't believe her.
I completely get that too, because
no, it went in stages. So it was unsupervised. To the out in the community, then they were allowed on the flat for maybe an hour, or then 4 hours, then overnight. It went like that.
What were they like when they seen you? Were they so excited, or was it were they a wee bit standoffish, or what way did that look for them?
They seen me anyway. I was supervised with them once a week anyway. They'd seen me anyway. But now, even looking back, I have a wee boy, 16, he's transgender.
Right.
And just the constant worry and fear in that way, thinking that I was going to have Jacob took off me.
And your son as well was thinking this?
He just seen it.
So the older ones were taking on your kind of worries and responsibilities as well?
Yeah, they were.
How did you end up getting, because now you are sitting here today, 4 years clean and sober, which is just, like, even me writing my notes last night, I was going, how is this person?
I don't know how my life's so
literally, that's what I was thinking. How is this person, still here?
I know.
I couldn't even imagine your darkest day, because when I think about my darkest days, it's nothing compared to what you've went through. How do you go then? 4 years clean and sober, which is unreal. After everything you've been through, test after test after test, and you didn't break.
I still get tested.
Tested every day, I would say.
Every day.
Because you are still a recovering addict, even though you are 4 years clean and sober, you could still probably be recovering, would you, until the day you die? Is that the way?
That's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
An addict, yeah.
So any life stressors, you would nearly want to reach for them again to get that.
There's not a week was past where I'm like, Jesus Christ, keep going.
Aye.
But no, it's hard. It's hard, especially when you have a family.
So how do you end up getting? You have your own place now in Foyle Women's Aid. Is that right?
Place in Foyle Women's Aid, yeah.
And you have full custody of all your children.
Yes. Well, I say that. No, I do. My wee boy, my third wee boy, Ryan, he's 14.
Right.
He's always sort of loved my auntie. Between me and my auntie, even before social services got involved, he had a really good bond with my auntie. And I was an addict. I didn't care, took him for the weekend. No, that was a no priority. So he has always sort of stayed with her. So he bounces between the two of us. That's still the gut. My Kyle is 16 now on Monday, and he came back just before I moved out of Women's Aid. He came back to me when he's back with me now 3 years.
Right.
He's back with me. My wee girl goes to school on the Waterside.
Right.
So she sort of had to stay with her nanny.
Right.
Until, she was over every holiday. Weekends, or any time that school's not on, she'll be back full time now in June, end of June.
Aye. So you have them in a sense then that you're not supervised no more. There's no worries like that anymore.
No, in my home at the minute there's no social workers. There's I don't have a social worker no more. That was big steps too for me. Like Jacob was put on a child protection register.
And that's very hard to come off.
And all this, and they go to court and get a care order withdrawn. It was like all steps, but I'd done it all.
You've done it all. Like as I said, like I feel like I'm so proud of you, and I literally don't even know you. I just think you're so inspirational, and I've had so many people on the podcast. I just feel going through your story has been the life of, say, 10 people.
I know.
Put together. You've been tested, and look at you, like you're amazing. If you had, because we'll wrap it up now then. If you had one piece of advice to give to someone who is in the throes of addiction and wants the help, and it was like you praying, going to chapel, please, I don't want this life anymore, what would be the piece of advice that you would give to them?
Never give up.
Never give up.
Like, and I say that because there was a woman in my life at the time, she's not no more, and she always said to me, just don't give up. And there were so many times I was going to give up.
Aye. And another thing I noticed about you as well, that you said that when you were coming here today, you were bringing a friend, and I was like, amazing. She, and you're speaking to your family and stuff. So it just shows that they all loved you, even whenever you were being, as you say, horrible to them.
I talked to my mummy now, and talking there so close to my mummy, but I said, dear, did you think that I was going to do it? And she said, I knew. I knew you were going to do it, I just didn't know when. And I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad that she never let me know that.
Right.
Because that was another big thing for me, was not speaking to my family. You couldn't have looked at me. Nobody could have looked at me, and I was just so angry. My auntie who that had my wee boy was, God, I put that woman through hell back. And even now, if she's talking to somebody, she'd be like, Christina's back to herself again, and it's looking back, seeing how bad I actually was. I was like, my friend's here, and she doesn't know me in addiction, she only knows me now.
Okay.
She was like, I can't picture
what
you ever being like that.
I
said I was like, it's so bad.
Because in a sense, it kind of wasn't you either, though.
No, it was definitely not me.
No.
Definitely not me. No.
Oh my God.
I know.
So the piece of advice then is, please don't give up. Like, look at you now today, sitting here 4 years clean and sober. People can recover.
Oh God, you definitely can recover.
You've all your children, you have your home, everything that you thought that you would never ever have.
No.
You're going to Nathan Care of the night.
And do you know what? I'm not going to sit here and say life's perfect, but it's good.
No, no one's life's perfect. And I'm so proud of you for coming down and taking the time to share your story.
Even, my children, as they're growing up in their thing way, they have somebody to guide them if that ever, because you can never say it's never going to come to your door. I don't know what my children's going to turn out like.
No.
But I just know that I was there.
And they must look at you now, and maybe the younger ones will